ABC40's Scott Cohen joins us from Court Square in downtown Springfield with the emotional reaction from those who lost trees during the storm. Scott?
Well, thanks a lot, Dave and Shannon. I know you really can't see a lot behind me because it's dark out, but Court Square looks a lot different than it did prior to the June tornado. I mean, the tornado just actually blew right by us, and it injured a lot of the trees here in the area, knocking them down. The square lost a lot more trees because of the great snowstorm we just went through. You know, losing a tree can be a very emotional experience, and we talked to some of our friends and neighbors today, all the way from Wilbraham to Springfield, who all echoed the same sentiment.
To mark someone's birth with it and watch it grow over the course of their lifetime, and then just to have Mother Nature kind of rip it apart, it was very sad, very sad.
Donna Graziano was out on her lawn in Wilbraham today, lamenting the loss of the birch tree the family planted to mark the birth of their son Anthony 13 years ago. The June tornado destroyed part of their home and ravaged the nearby forest where neighborhood kids once played. The Grazianos managed to dodge July's microburst and tropical storm Irene, but last weekend's snowstorm finally felled the family's birch tree, a tree they loved and admired so dearly.
It kind of gives you a feeling of strength and endurance and persistence, and actually in hope too. When you see so much devastation around, it's a beautiful thing.
It's probably close to being as tall as my house.
In Springfield's historic Forest Park neighborhood, we found the Conlog family in similar straits. Inside their home on Bellevue Avenue, the heat and lights were on.
It split down to the bottom.
But outside, the sugar maple they planted to commemorate the birth of their daughter Emily was destroyed, split in two by the storm's heavy, wet snow.
We thought this was a perfect time to replace it in honor of her birth. And, we're very proud of her. And so to see it drop like that, you know, after 16 years, it's sort of like, wow, we expected it to be there forever.
And speaking of forever, how about a trip to ABC40 Chief Meteorologist Ed Carroll's home in Longmeadow?
The one that snapped off is hanging just literally by a thread.
A 275-year-old maple tree was also heavily damaged in the snowstorm. The Carrolls live in the old Colton house. Out back, Ebenezer Colton was buried in the shadow of the maple tree in 1765. Also nearby, a small gravestone beneath the tree marks the grave of a young child.
The tradition back then was they would bury an infant or a small child near one of their favorite trees. And this just happened to be right next to the sugar maple that's been here, like I mentioned earlier, over 200 years old.
So you want to make sure you keep it going?
That's why I want to keep it going, because you hate to have bad karma when something like that happens. So I think to keep this thing alive is certainly good for everybody in the neighborhood.
All right, now I've said before that I live in the East Forest Park neighborhood, and when the tornado blew through, I think I missed it probably by about 5 blocks. I would have been first concerned about my family, then of course my house, and we have about a 200-year-old copper beech tree in the front yard, and if something happened to that tree, I would have been heartbroken. And of course, as you heard, people in our area are really lamenting the loss of some of their trees after all these years. Live in Court Square, I'm Scott Cohen, ABC40. Back to you guys in the studio.